right? You would respect any view I offer you as to the future of white Anglo-Saxon people in this country.
Fanatics, religious fanatics, are apt to take the law into their own hands on occasion, aren't they, and actually threaten people, actually use physical violence.
And the harsh truth is that the politicians are letting Islam grow so fast amongst us precisely because of the bad effects that it has. Those bad effects, the sense of division, the sense of loss of independence, the sense of home no longer being home, crime, violence, hostility, balkanization. Those bad effects, those are not an unfortunate byproduct of an otherwise benevolent policy. Those things are the policy.
Yet despite all this, we have a basic need to think well of ourselves. We want to believe that we are good people and that the path in life we have chosen is a noble one. The easiest way to reconcile our need for a positive self-image with the existence of our many flaws and shortcomings is through hiding our defects, both from ourselves as well as others.
And the reason is because it makes us, you, me, everyone, easier to rule. That's not conspiracy. That is simply ambitious people doing what it's in their interest to do, as most of us do most of the time. It's incentivized groupthink. Because it works, it grows. And every violent thug, every violent boyfriend, every tin pot dictator understands this. If you grind people down, if you take away their sense of independence, if you divide them, you make them more manageable, you make them easier to control. And that is what politicians, rulers, as a class want. It gives them more power if we become easier to rule.
The number of Nobel Prizes won by people from Trinity College, Cambridge, and the entire Muslim population of the world. Trinity College, Cambridge comes out on top of that comparison. Now, not disputing the factual basis of it, why make such an invidious comparison? Why raise that? Why raise the issue? What's the point of drawing attention to that?
It is a fact that in the Dark Ages and Middle Ages, the Islamic world was a beacon of scientific progress and enlightenment. And something has gone wrong.
If you look at a picture of the galaxy, the thing that will strike you is how the best thing about it is planet Earth, because of its ability to support life. And if you look at Earth, what will strike you is that the best thing about it is us, the people. And then if you look more closely at the people, what you'll find is that every group, every people has the right to survive, but that there is no group on Earth, with the possible exception of the Jewish people, that has the same strong duty to survive that we, the English, have. You don't have to like us to see that. I don't like every one of us, and I loathe the venomous English class system, but you have to value the triple example that we give to the world.
I had dinner with the then Chief Rabbi, Jonathan Sacks, a few months ago, and learned there the astonishing fact that between 20 and 25% of all scientific Nobel Prizes have been won by Jews. And I thought that was a stunning fact. It really is. I mean, when you think the total population of Jews in the world is tiny compared to really any other of the major religions. So I wanted to make this point that Islam has stagnated in the scientific field since the Middle Ages, and the best comparison to make would have been with Jews. And then I thought, oh no, I can't do that, because that will really upset people because of Palestine, and I'm very sympathetic to the plight of the Palestinian people in Israel. So at the last minute, I crossed out Jews and stuck in Trinity College, Cambridge.
That's pretty straightforward. And they can't, in a democratic system, they can't go for the outright open violence and suppression. So they have to use subtler methods, perhaps using proxies, creating other problems which render us more dependent upon them and bolster up their position and increase their status and their sense of power.
But I can think of much more gentlemanly ways of making the intellectual point that Islam has not being a great
But it's just a
scientific
fact.
contributor.
It's just a fact. Whether or not it upsets people is less important to me than the dramatic nature of the fact, which ought to be looked at. Somebody ought to be saying, why?
And that is the example of freedom under law that is morally justified. Firstly, freedom. Everyone claims to love this idea of freedom. Everyone says they love freedom, but only the English-speaking world loves this, loves freedom even when it becomes ugly. The cry of freedom is not some fancy Latin phrase or some beautiful Hollywood movie. The cry of freedom is the Anglo-Saxon "fuck off," because it means just go away, get lost and leave me to get on with my business. That's ugly, but it's free. The French call us les fuck-offs, and they think that's an insult. But time and again, we've seen European history being one long series of attempts to escape the ugly rigours of freedom. Hiding from economic reality behind one another's skirts within the EU is the latest example of that. And time and again, they have had to be pulled back from their dead-end social experiments by our more successful free example.
How does sovereignty respond to millions of refugees seeking safety? The challenge moving forward is how this 400-year-old concept can evolve and adapt to confront modern issues the world faces today. Overall, the world has become more peaceful, more stable, and less deadly in the centuries since the establishment of sovereignty. But while the concept of sovereignty can be clearly interpreted, its application in the real world is not always so straightforward. Especially in today's modern era, what goes on inside a country can affect us all, and it's not as simple as letting a country go about minding its own business. Refugees, cyberspace, diseases, cash, greenhouse gases. None adhere to lines on a map. But governments, economies, militaries, and people are far more interconnected now than they were in the 17th century.
But you would agree that you pick an argument with people of religion or religions, don't you?
Pick an argument that just
You
going
go out of your way to say
I
things
would
that are
dispute
pointed
that.
about that religion or those groups of people.
It's a good point that the best way to convert people is not necessarily to tell them they're idiots.
I know you believe that, Oswald. I'm trying to.
I'm sorry to tell you this. There is a genetic
you don't have to apologise.
Haplogroup 1b.
Sir,
because I feel sorry for you because you're
Oswald. I'm trying to work out. I know you feel sorry for me, and I'm not angry at you. I'm trying to work out why you're confusing the ethnicity of being white Anglo-Saxon with the membership of a country called England.
And if you doubt that, then ask yourself, what possible benefits are there for allowing Islam within our country? Sit down with a pencil and paper and write down all the nice things that you think exist in this country and see if you can find one of them which depends upon the presence of Islam or is helped in any way at all by the presence of Islam. And see what answer you come up with. Again, if you doubt this, look at the question of immigration. Every year we're told that action will be taken on immigration numbers, and every year it seems that immigration goes up, particularly Islamic immigration. Politicians say they have to fight for every vote, and yet they won't fight for those votes, even though the votes from the polling would appear to be big. Over the last 15 years, whenever a public poll has been conducted across Britain or the whole of Europe, or anywhere in Europe, what has been found is that one of the top three issues is concern about immigration.
And I have occasionally seemed guilty of that. I'm ignorant of all sorts of things, and so are you, I'm sure. And we would be quite happy to own up to being ignorant of many things, ignorant of music or ignorant of art or ignorant of baseball, whatever it might be.
And you can see that time and again it has been the English-speaking world that has stood up for this idea of freedom against the idea of state imposition. And this goes way back before the era of democracy, fighting against Philip II of Spain, fighting Napoleon, fighting the Kaiser, fighting Hitler, fighting the Soviet Union, and now fighting the last big, bad, nasty unfreedom, Islam.
That they wouldn't really believe, but they've seen it now, and that's true. So,
bye-bye.